Thanks for supporting the channel financially, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Our goal is 3,000 likes and 300 comments," the angel added. "Now that the district has been merged, we'll have to hold a selection for the region representatives as usual. We, the angels, will discuss this and come back, so in the meantime, greet each other or gather with friends to unwind." After the angel disappeared, the 6,000 players, as if they had been waiting, began to voice their complaints. One player said, "In a situation where we have to compete, are we supposed to just greet each other?" Another said, "What? Gather with friends to unwind? Do they think this is some kind of meeting plaza?" Seriously, even though the district was merged, there were no familiar faces to be seen, as friends or acquaintances had mostly been eliminated in the early rounds and turned to dust. However, not everyone was like that, and the first person to approach Ryu was Yamti, and she said, "Rai, no, Lord Black Scythe." Having been tipped off about the district merger, Ryu had instructed Yamti to come to him immediately after the merger, and he said to himself, "I knew I'd meet Yamti someday, so I couldn't pretend not to know her. Besides, Yamti is needed for the quests ahead, and to make use of Yamti, it was necessary to appear acquainted with her from early on." Then she smiled and said, "Lord Black Scythe, I'm glad to meet you like this. We're acquainted, right?" Ryu said, "Enough. There's no need for pretense when we're alone." She said, "Oh, is that so? Hehe, I'm really glad to see you in this world, Master." Ryu said, "Shh. Keep your voice down when speaking, just in case. Check for assassins using invisibility within a 30-meter radius." She said, "Oh, I'm sorry." After saying that, Yamti immediately surveyed the surroundings and then whispered to Ryu, saying, "How was my acting at first? Good enough, right?" Ryu replied, You seemed a bit over the top. It would be better to tone down the emotions a bit." She smiled and said, "Thank you for the advice, Master." Ryu said coldly, "Anyway, don't get too close. What if someone sees you?" Yamti, feeling inwardly disappointed, backed away and said, "Ah, yes, I understand." At that moment, someone entered within a 30-meter radius. Sensing the presence of two people at once, they both turned their heads. It was Min Juri. She had naturally come looking for Black Scythe as always, but was surprised. Suddenly, she saw him being cozy with a woman she hadn't seen before. Then she asked, "Who are you?" Yamti replied, "Hello, I'm Yamti," she said. "I didn't ask for your nickname, but what's your relationship with Black Scythe Nim?" Yamti's expression momentarily turned sullen at the prickly tone. Then, as if struck by an idea, she deliberately snorted and lifted one corner of her mouth and said, Well, do I have an obligation to answer that?" Min Juri inquired. "What did you say?" Yamti said, "And you, who came here late, what's your relationship with Lord Black Scythe?" She said, "You? I am Black Scythe's Min Juri began to speak, but glanced at Black Scythe for his reaction. She wanted to say comrade, but was Black Scythe of the same mind? They had met out of necessity, and the word comrade had never been uttered. Yamti said, "What? I can't hear you." Min Juri said, I am." Ryu, finding it hard to watch the women's quarrel, intervened and said, "Stop it, both of you." And as previously agreed, he explained, "Yamti here is a personal acquaintance of mine from the real world. And just to be clear, she's not my girlfriend, so don't get any weird ideas." And he looked straight at Min Juri and said, "Min Juri is my comrade. We've partied together several times." Min Juri's lips formed a long curve, a feeling as if her heart had been cleared, and an irresistible smile spread across her face. Was it because she finally heard the word comrade she had longed to hear? Or was it because he drew a line saying that the woman wasn't his girlfriend? Then Min Juri apologized with a smile as if she had let go of the emotions from moments ago, and said, "So you were an acquaintance of Lord Black Scythe from the real world. I'm sorry for being sensitive. I was on guard because you were a stranger." With her stepping forward like this, Yamti had no choice but to apologize as well. And she said, "I'm sorry too. I responded sharply, didn't I?" Ryu was the one who answered her, saying, "Sharp doesn't begin to cover it." It was downright rude for a first encounter. He said this while secretly glaring at Yamti, and his eyes were saying, "Don't unnecessarily pick fights with my acquaintances, that if you don't want to be taught a lesson." Yamti, reading the intent in his eyes, lowered her gaze like a scolded puppy. At that moment, a group of familiar faces approached from afar. Seo Aaron, the bodyguard, and Heavenly Demon were among them. Then the bodyguard said, "Hello, Lord Black Scythe." Ryu said, Hello! Excluding Heavenly Demon, the expressions of the two were brighter than usual. Seo Aren was pleased to meet Black Scythe again, whom she had seen in reality, and the bodyguard was in a good mood, having finally joined Heavenly Demon. Ryu Min pretended not to know, and turned his gaze to Heavenly Demon and asked, "And who is this?" The bodyguard introduced him as if he had been planning to, saying, "Let me introduce you, Lord Black Scythe. This person is the representative of our company, Heavenly Demon." Ryu inquired, "Ma Heaven Demon?" He said, No, it's Heavenly Demon, Heavenly Demon." Then Heavenly Demon stepped forward and extended his hand and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Black Scythe Nim." Ryu Min shook hands, feigning ignorance, and said, "Heavenly Demon, I never thought I'd meet a named rank 2 or 3 player like this." He laughed and said, "Named? I'm not even in the top 3 anymore." Ma Kyung Rok was friendly, despite it being their first meeting. He owed Black Scythe for past debts, and he added, "I've heard a lot from a manager. You helped them from thugs during the 2nd round, and in the 6th round, you partied with them and helped them level up." Ryu said, "Well, yes." Heavenly Demon said, "As a representative, I'm very grateful. Thank you for helping my employees." Ryu said, "Thanks are unnecessary." Ryu maintained a casual tone. Fortunately, Heavenly Demon didn't seem to take offense. But what could a level 38 do if a level 80 wanted to speak informally? Then Seo Aren cautiously joined the conversation and said, "By the way, Lord Black Scythe, who is she?" She was pointing at Yamti. When pointed out, Yamti raised her head with a sly look and said, "Nice to meet you. Are you Lord Black Scythe's comrade?" "I'm Yamti, a real-life acquaintance of Lord Black Scythe." Seo Aren's pupils wavered and said to herself, "Real-life acquaintance? Weren't I the only one who knew Black Scythe in real life?" Well, a skilled player like Lord Black Scythe would have many people around him. Even now, quite a few people were gathered, weren't they? Then she said to herself, "Wait, does that mean this Yamti person knows Lord Black Scythe's real face? I had only seen him with a white mask, never his actual face." Seo Aren looked at Yamti with jealous eyes. She too wished to be called a real-life acquaintance of Black Scythe. At that moment, Ariel returned after the angels had finished their discussion and said, "Have you had a good time chatting, Korean players? Currently, with the merger of 7 regions, we have 7 region representatives. As I mentioned earlier, we need to select one person to be the representative. The one selected will effectively become the representative of all Korean players." Heavenly Demon listened attentively to the angel's words. Not surprisingly, he was one of the representatives. He was in a position to compete with Black Scythe, and he said to himself, "So how will the selection be conducted?" We considered the basic method of a death match, but at the mention of a death match, he flinched and looked at Ryu and said to himself, "I'm not confident in a death match." In fact, if he had to fight against a level 80, the outcome was obvious. The angel interrupted his thoughts by saying, "After discussing, we've decided to conduct this representative selection fairly through voting." One inquired, "Voting?" The angel replied, "Like the voting in round 2, you can nominate your desired representative player from among the 7 candidates." Upon hearing it would be a vote, hope appeared on Heavenly Demon's face, and he said to himself, "Perhaps this could be an opportunity for me." He was not confident in a death match, but voting gave him a sliver of possibility. The angel added, "Then shall we proceed with the voting? Those who do not choose will be annihilated on the spot, so please make to choose quickly." As soon as the angel fluttered its wings, a message appeared in front of the people. "Please vote for one person to be the representative of the merged region. 1. Black Scythe, level 80 Reaper. 2. Heavenly Demon, level 38 Dark Knight, plus 7. Dumb Fools, level 38 Shaman. Time remaining for voting, 0,000,099. Players hesitated before touching their fingers to the screen. But since the choice appeared only to their eyes, there was no need to worry about being seen. The angel added, "Note that the representatives are candidates and do not have the right to vote. Leave it to fate." As the angel said, Heavenly Demon swallowed nervously, hoping for a good outcome, and he said to himself, "Maybe I can become the representative surpassing Black Scythe." And he looked at Black Scythe with anticipation and said to himself, he might not show it, but he must be nervous, and this could be a moment where he might lose the position of region representative. After a minute passed, the angel announced the results. First, Black Scythe, 4,088 votes. Second, Heavenly Demon, 1,057 votes. Third, Dumb Fools, 529 votes. Seventh, Bird Chest, 65 votes.